All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me for, I think this might be the fourth or fifth of this once a month free teleconference that I decided to do a few months back. So it's the first Wednesday of every month. And I apologize to those of you who will hear this recording later on, and because you've been trying to either get on the teleconference and there's an issue. I don't know why that is happening, but it has. It's supposed to be very simple. So hopefully, maybe we'll have it resolved next month. And if not, I will have another system that I'm going to be using because I really would love for everybody to be able to participate because it's once a month and we can talk about so many different topics. And I also love to hear what you have to say. So I'm gonna just remind everybody that at the end of my little talk, you're going to be able to click either to hit star two, which is to either raise or lower your hand, or star six to unmute yourself or to mute yourself. So the star two or star six. And I will let you know when that moment comes. So, a few days ago, I wrote an article called When You Just Feel Like Escaping the Game of Life, which is reality. Um, Feel no guilt because in those moments you might not feel like being the change you want to be in the world, and that's okay. All right. So those of you very familiar with me, you know that I am always going completely over the edge of what is considered normal spiritual dialogue. And of course, why do I do that? I do that because I get simply, I think, just sort of frustrated with people having to or try to or think that they have to live up to these sort of these expectations and these conditions, and it puts so much stress on the individual aiming to live up to it. So I say you don't have to be the change in the world, not today. Today you don't have to try to do that, and to be okay with that. So the basically, I'm not going to read the whole article, but there are parts of it that I really kind of want to focus on. I want to talk about. And of course, it starts out saying from time to time we experience feelings of wanting to escape the human game, and then that this is quite understandable. And so, the idea of having those days though, where you just feel like you just want to escape this whole thing, not that you don't want to be here, meaning like you want to stop breathing. That's not it. But sometimes you just want the ride to to some degree to stop in that moment because maybe there's so much coming at you, and sometimes we just go on overwhelm. So anyway, the constant ebb and flow of emotions that are entangled in all that we experience. This is why we feel like that, and we want it to stop. So I thought it was real important to really feature that. Is the fact that we do want it to stop. But my question is, what is it that we want stopped? And I think that becomes so important that we examine that. So it's not just this sense of, gosh, I wish it would stop. What is it that we wish would stop? Is it the experience itself, or is it the emotions and the feelings which allow us to evaluate what is being experienced? And the only way that we can evaluate what we're experiencing is what? It's through these feelings and these emotions. And it definitely can be tiring because much of it is taking place in our heads. And this is what I find fascinating. Much of life, much of what we live is really takes place in our minds as opposed to out there. That's the illusion. We conjure it all up in our mind, all of the scenarios and so on that we come up with, and then we do stress ourselves out. But to really stop and to see what is it that I want stopped right now? What is it that I'm experiencing that I really want to come to a halt? Is it the feeling? because that's what feels like it's strangling you. It's the feeling that you're dealing with, whether you're worrying about something or not. And those, those that are in the workshops that I do, and we have a workshop that goes on right now, a 6 months workshop, and it's called the Everything Workshop because they participated in a couple of other workshops that were 6 months workshops, and we dived into so much that this one was sort of a bringing together of many of the very cutting edge things that we talk about. But anyway, in that workshop, I said, maybe it was a couple of months ago, that I got up one day and I just decided I was just tired of having feelings. And for some people it would sound a little crazy, but I was able to say to myself, you know what? I'm just really kind of tired of having feelings right now. And so I decided I was going to take a moment's break. But anyway, it was being able to just own that, that you're just, some days you just don't want to have all of these feelings, these emotions, these, when I say happy or sad or, be concerned or worried, the thing with me is that I'm okay with saying these things and owning it. And a lot of people aren't. They don't want to say that because it's not a nice thing to say. And I'm not interested in nice, and that's what I share when we do workshops and retreats. This is the unveiling that happens in people's lives, is the freedom to be what they feel and who they are. And the more that we're able to do that and be that, the less we have to be concerned with what kind of person we're being, because you are actually not having to work hard at being this good person that you want to be or any of these things. You sort of move into that space, and I'm kind of jumping ahead, but this is why I do this, is because I want people to be able to come into their own, into that space of who I am. I am so okay with who I am right now, and I am so okay with getting up and saying, you know what, I don't give a whatever today, um, and just roll with that for the day, as opposed to uh, having your social programs run about that's not nice, or that's not being a good person, that's bad, or feeling guilty, and that's all social programming, social constructs. This is what I am constantly presenting, showing it to people, that who you think you are is this construct that's been devised or designed by your environment and society. Anyway, so again, I'm reading this now because this is what it says in paragraph 2. We are conditioned to feel guilt in entertaining these kinds of feelings, but guilt only serves to make us liars, both to ourselves and to those around us. Instead, many are forced to mask these feelings with mantras and spiritual babble while choking on the inside. Um, and of course, I do say that mantras are a wonderful tool and most effective when one is able to own their feelings, right? So before anybody thinks, oh well, you're throwing out, these things, spiritual mantras, or whatever the mantras are, or the spiritual stuff that you say to yourself. That's all well and good. But for me, ultimately, in the end, I want to check myself to see if I believe any of what I am saying right now. Is any of that hitting home? Is any of that really sticking? Is any of what I'm trying to convince myself of really allowing me to see the truth of how I feel, so that I can clear that feeling, and then so that the mantras that I am saying can really take effect and really have meaning and really have power in it because I have put power into it. And this is what I'm saying. So it's not that Sonia is saying, don't say any of that. I'm not saying that. But in order for any of this to have any kind of power or depth, it's so important that we go ahead and own what we feel. Again, and this is the emphasis. So, again, in the article, which I would suggest if you haven't read it, to go ahead and read it, it's okay when you simply don't care about being the change you want to see in the world. Of course, in order to truly become the change you want to see in the world, you must first own your feelings and truths, the truths that are unfolding in your life. In those moments of feeling uninterested in such spiritual insights, those moments can be filled with power as we own ourself without prejudice. You don't have to be your brother's keeper or rush to do good in the world or be selfless or to save the planet or search for a cause or search for a cause to support or to be positive and say positive things. Sometimes we just simply need to a break from the overdose of the goodness program which one may feel the need to comply with. And this, again, is what I'm saying. So not only can you listen to the recording again, but you can read the article, which will probably maybe have more detail than what I'm saying here this evening. But I think you get the gist of where I'm coming from. And if you're going to search yourself and be honest in this moment with yourself, all of what I've said, you can really examine it, and I think you can actually take a deep breath, and you take that deep breath right now, and it's freedom. It's this freedom of going, oh, you can feel it roll off your shoulders actually. That I don't have to be my brother's keeper right now. I don't have to be any of these things. I don't have to be this good person, this expected good person. I don't have to rush to do good in the world. I don't have to do any of these things or be selfless, becoming a martyr. You don't have to rush to save the planet. You don't have to do any of those things. And a lot of that is pushed by a lot of the new age talk. It is so pushed. And what happens is you get a lot of these people that are just living a lie. They're living a lie and they're suffocating and they're hurting on the inside. Some people are not because they've covered it over so well with this kind of deceptive belief system that they don't even notice that they're problems. So then what happens once again? They end up with health problems. They end up with all kinds of problems because now they've created this image for you. They've created this face for you, and what you see is this person that is so happy and always have positive things to say, and they're always so. You hear people say that, God, that person was always so positive. He or she was always so positive, such a light, and then they got sick. What happened? Well, maybe that was more for you seeing that, but that person didn't feel free enough to be who they are and to in those moments just go, you know what, I am just not perfect, and today I feel like shit. Today I don't care. Today I'm not interested in what's going on with you right now. I'm just feeling me and interested in how I'm feeling right now, and right now I just want to chill, and I'm just feeling uninterested, and I'm okay with that. And that's where I come from. And then you can come back refreshed and engage, whether it be with family, friends, whatever the organization is that you're belonging to, and you can own that. So, yes, that's what Sonia does. So, if you ever come to any of these retreats, as a matter of fact, if you go on the website, there is really a prerequisite now to come to those retreats. And because it is it's so unveiling in terms of people, reality, um, and there's an incredible freedom there. It's very revolutionary, evolutionary. It's all of that. And if you've never taken a workshop or any things that I've done or been to, one of these retreats or gatherings, for some people, it could be like overwhelmed because they're looking for something that's not there. They're looking for that what we've gotten used to, with an overdose of structure and rules and instructions, and I'm stepping away from that. I stepped away from that. Sure, there is form, but it's very different, and people get to be who they are, and they get to share their perspective on themselves. So there's no guru or any of that. Everybody is in recognition that they're a master. And this is what I'm speaking of. When I'm saying these things, this is how we begin to step into being masters, is because we have an opportunity, we allow ourselves, we give ourselves permission to own that ability and to not be afraid of it anymore, and to not buy into what we've been programmed with over generations, and what we've been taught, basically, that we are not capable of owning ourselves, or who we are is unacceptable to the world. Okay, so in remembering that every idea of what it means to be good or bad are only constructs designed by someone else from this world and other worlds. All of these protocols are designed to keep us in line, to maintain order, and to provide acceptable behaviors for us to strive for. Very important. I will say it again. All of these, what I mentioned before, remembering that every idea of what it means to be good or bad are only constructs designed by someone else from this world and other worlds. All of these are protocols. These protocols are designed to keep us in line, to maintain order, and to provide acceptable behaviors for us to strive by. The irony, however, is that it is these very same rules and protocols that continue to drive human beings mad. To be what we are without adhering to these external instructions and protocols is basically pretty much viewed as a cosmic offense. So, going back to the irony of all of this and trying to keep people in line and to keep order and to keep you from unraveling and to keep you from being who you are and from connecting with who you are at the deepest level, through rules and structures and belief systems and all of that. The irony is that when human beings are unable to be truly who they are, they go mad. And this is why we see a society that we have. We think it's because, they'll have us believe it's because there's not enough order. There's not enough structure. No, but it's the very thing, idea of order and structure that is causing the problem, because people cannot be who they are, and what results is something else. And so we have people that we would then, define as crazy, and they might not be outwardly crazy, like an obvious crazy, but everybody ends up being a little bit mad. Trust me, everybody is a little bit infected. All of us, me, everybody. Until you realize that, you start to understand this, and you start to realize, and then the veils come off. You start getting, releasing more and more of it, and that includes, religion, which is a construct, a limited and limiting ways to think and what to believe, constructs of what is acceptable, what is okay for you to believe, to use as your tools for regulating your life, to live by this order that has been set forth. All of these things is what causes people to begin to unravel, because innately in all human beings we yearn to be who we are. We yearn to be the magicians that we are. We yearn to be the actual, what we define as God, the gods that we are. We yearn to just be expansive. We yearn to be larger than our bodies. We yearn for that. And when it doesn't happen, um, it starts to drive us crazy. So, anyway, so deep down in our subconscious, we expect to be punished or to suffer the consequences of going off script. Our inability to be free at the deepest level is both in both thoughts and actions, has led humanity to be the very thing that we are told not to be. Why is that? Because human beings are in constant defense mode, wired for survival, always protecting ourselves. The fact is that being who we are is a powerful key in decoding this human game. Once we surrender to ourselves, the fear goes away, whereby changing our actions. Our emotional state of being changes, and the incessant need for self preservation no longer leads to murder, rape, betrayal, theft, social measurements, mental instability, lack, racism, bigotry, etc. And not because they are socially or morally wrong, but the payoff or satisfaction or fears which lead to the action, thought, or behavior is no longer relevant. There is no longer a resonance with these actions. All right. So I decided to read that whole thing because that is very important. If you say to me right now, well, Sonia, well, what do I do? I say to you, read this again. And sometimes I'm told, it's for some people, I don't give enough instructions. And then there's a reason why. Because I know that in all of us, we have the power. In all of us, we have that ability to connect with that more expansive part of ourselves. And so I'm helping you to stretch that muscle and to begin to trust yourself. And if you listen to what I've said, if you read all of this and you hear this recording again, you will find that you have every clue in this piece of article and this what I'm sharing. All the clues to step away and to step outside of that space that you've been in that has been strangling you. The key here is honesty with oneself as to your situation, what you are really feeling, and not continue to come up with reasons why you are doing what you're doing. And we are very good at that. I certainly was very good at it until I caught myself. I'd always have a way to validate what I'm doing. And then this way, I'm totally distracted from all the subconscious stuff that's there, the reason, what is the core reason why I'm doing this. And a lot of times it turns out that it's safer. It's a pattern, it's a habit, and it's safer. And it's easier to then say, well, I'm doing this because of this person. If I don't do it, then, who's going to do it? No, there are other payoffs. And sometimes we hide behind these belief systems. Not sometimes, but pretty much when they're there, it's because we're hiding behind them. And we just get to keep telling ourselves that's why we're doing it, so that we don't actually have to make a move and create the necessary change that we want. That's why some people spend their time externally trying to save the world and heal the planet and do all of this stuff when Mother Earth really has it covered. She has it covered. We're the ones that's a problem. She can easily just get rid of everybody if she wants to. But in order to be in her good graces, let's say, to align with her, we have to change. We have to enter into resonance with Mother Earth, with this whole structure here, that this piece of rock, as they say, that we're on, or this universe. We have to be in alignment with a certain aspect then of this planet. And I don't want to go too deeply, and I don't know how much everybody who's listening to me is aware of some of certain concepts, and I'm told that sometimes when I'm speaking about this stuff it sounds simple to me, but to somebody else it's not simple. And I really want people to understand. I really want you to come away tonight feeling like you did get something from this. And then if you want to dig in more into what I'm talking about, which it just goes way deep, and the people that are part of all those kinds of discussions is just profound, or just everybody's just a profound master. The trick is really knowing, or really owning that. And so I'm saying these things so that we may all begin to step into deeper levels of being the masters that we truly already are. So, so anyway, it says. I said again. I'm going to say again. The fact is that being who we are is a powerful key in decoding the human game. So, if I'm saying that discovering who we are is such an incredibly powerful key in really decoding this experience, your personal life, as well as the overall concept of reality or life, or just, the whole reality experience. If I'm saying that that's where the key is, then why do you think then that there are so many illusory obstacles, let's say, in place that keep us distracted from discovering who we are, distracted from diving into ourselves? Like, again, like religion will say, I am not worthy. Everything is sort of put off on, a third party. You cannot own your greatness. None of that. Why do you think that happens? Why do you think that is so encouraged? Because when that happens, then we are continuously separated from from um, from that key, from that key that will unlock the truth of you and your place in reality. And it's like, whoa. So what would happen? It would change the game. It would change how you play your life, the game of your life, and just the game of reality, period, and the game of reality just here in this minuscule Earth space, from our our governmental matrix and corporate matrix and all of that. It would send a ripple through all of everything that we are participating in the human experience. It would change that. So this is why it's important that you are not unlocking yourself. So anyway, and then once we surrender to ourselves, the fear goes away, whereby changing our actions. Our actions change. Much of what we do is based on survival. And this is why people do what they do. There's some sort of fear in them, which then causes them to lash out on what would seem on other people in behaviors like those I described, in murder, rape, so on. It comes from some sort of survival. There's a fear in there that is triggering those kinds of behavior. All right. So to realize the difference between defining something as good or bad, or right or wrong, becomes irrelevant, but instead it's about resonance. And this is really important. This distinction is so very important, otherwise, we will continue to be held imprisoned by the rules, conditions, and protocols of the human game, which are simply default constructs for the unawakened being. All right, I'll let you read the rest of that. Let's see, what else do I want to chat about here? Okay, so it's an opportunity to see the origin of those fears and to decode them into nothingness. In other words, explore the fear and release the power streaming from you, which continues to sustain the fear. So all your fears are what? Are held in place by by the energy source, which is you. You are the power company that lights up your fear, that gives energy to the fear, that holds it up, that holds it in place. So now you want to ask, what is the fear made of? What beliefs are attached to the fear? What are you hiding from? These are significant reasons why we feel like escaping the game. This is why we feel like escaping. We feel anchored to reality in a way that creates pressure, discomfort, and a sense of being trapped. But these moments arise in us as an opportunity to reset ourselves instead of avoiding or burying our feelings or masking what we feel. Judgment from another human being, quite honestly, means nothing. And this is so important. This is so powerful right here. The fact that the judgment of another human being means absolutely nothing. What we do have is the illusion of the impact that we think we suffer from somebody judging us. If you think about it, what does it really take from you? What does it do to you when another human being that is just a human being in that moment, it, just a human being with the same challenges and issues, that individual has what we call judged you. Your feelings are hurt. You feel less than. You feel incompetent. Your self esteem is lowered. You feel beat up. Think about it. But why? Why? I want you to personally think about it in if you have any situation going on like that in your life right now. I want you to think about that. Um because they can't really take anything from you. The only thing that seems to be taken is what you've allowed yourself to give up or to um feel that you it's been taken from you. And I do know that because that was one thing that held my mind together in certain circumstances that I experienced in my life. I realized that no matter what you do, there's a part of me that you can never enter. You will never get inside that part of me. Just not going to happen. So you have to come to that realization too. Okay. So it only serves to trigger this when people judge you. It only serves to trigger our survival, our self-defense instincts. It stirs feelings and emotions interpreted as hurt feelings and disappointments and all such emotions. The entire experience is processed in our heads, and we then build our personal world with stories and scenarios which will support these feelings. So now that you feel judged, your feelings are hurt. Now you build stories around it, which we all have done. We build stories around that person that they don't like us, or they're out to get us, or whatever. And then there's more stories that get attached to that story, and this person is just given so much power, so much, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And you stop and you go, wait a second, this is stupid. This is ridiculous. You have nothing. And if I felt that you had anything, guess what? In this moment, I retrieve all of my power from you, from this situation, from this circumstance, from this illusion. I retrieve my power from this illusion now. And this is how we begin to make these commands. We begin to become those masters that we are. We begin to own that. So anyway, so I ended the article with, So the next time that you feel like escaping the game of life, check in with yourself first. All right? Before turning your mind over to others. There really are no rules, only the ones we created in order to play the human game. This includes our comfortable interpretation of creation and its all powerful God who you must adhere to for fear of retribution. Even for those stepping away from the common God concepts, the power is then shifted to the universe. So the universe becomes the God riddled with the same power. Are you not the magician who brings everything to life by by filling it with power in order to experience being powerless? So the need to escape from time to time stems from the degree of power that it takes from our human self to sustain our perception of reality. All of the people, places, things, beliefs, stories, and experiences that make up our lives. So, reset and reclaim power from all that no longer serves you. It is why you want to escape. So, what I'm going to do right in this moment, I am going to say if you want to say something, add something, ask a question, now we can try this with hitting star six to unmute your line.
Shalia.
Right. Shalia?
Yes.
Shalia.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
I heard other people talking, so I wasn't. Okay. I really appreciate the subject matter. There are a lot of things that you said that I resonate with, and some of the things you said are challenging for me, and I'm grappling with them. So I won't speak on everything, but some of the things that stood out. One, you spoke about once we really surrender to who we are and get to the nitty gritty of what we really desire and not just trying to fit into some program or how we've been indoctrinated to think, feel, and act, but to actually know what we truly desire. And once we become that, we can get away from the concepts of right and wrong, good and bad, but instead go towards resonance. Like either we'll resonate with something or we won't. And I was just recently having a conversation about that with someone else because they were asking me my thoughts on right and wrong. I was like, well, even though I do believe certain things are right and certain things are wrong, I'm trying to get away from those terms and those concepts. And something that you said that really challenged me has to do with my perception and concept of the Almighty Creator, God. And then you said for those who move away from that, we then put those powers on the universe. Because it is like, okay, well, I want to do the quote-unquote right thing because I believe it's a part of being an enlightened being, and I want to be pleasing to the light as is connected to all that ushers from prime creator, prime source. And if this is if this is a part of how I'm thinking of what is right and wrong or who I should be, how much of my truth am I denying because it doesn't line up with what I believe the Creator desires from me? And so that's challenging for me because I'm like, well, I don't want to just do any old thing because I don't have that fear of retribution.
Right.
So yeah.
You're grappling, but I totally understand that. That's the reason why I say, when you haven't been, we see what I'm talking about on YouTube, and certainly it does take a moment. It can take a moment to really cement yourself into an understanding about what all of this is about, and how you're thinking, and the fact that much of what you believe is a construct from created by somebody else.
Right.
Those things can be really challenging to move away from. And that's when you stop and you just keep gradually looking at, what do I believe, and really feeling that. What do I think? Where does this come from? Okay, well, there's good or bad, right or wrong, but you were taught that as a child, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
all of us.
And
We were
sometimes I
taught
feel it.
everything.
Right.
And then, yeah, but then even when we feel it, this is the crazy part about it. Pretty much of what we think and feel goes back to even information, history, information, belief systems that have become part of us. And so if somebody's listened to me and they've never really come to the workshops, and they really haven't really dived into more deeply into what I'm saying, it would be like, how is she saying people can just go around doing anything they want to do? Well, here's the thing. If anybody says that to me, you know what I say? People already do that.
Right.
People are already doing what they want to do. They may get in trouble for it, but they're already doing what they want to do. So you got to step back and go, well, scratch your head and go, well, somehow they're allowed to do all the stuff. Somehow, whatever the force you believe in that is greater than man has stepped back and has allowed human beings to discover who they are and be anything that is what we consider to be insane or sane, to do any and all of it. So this is where you start stepping back and start scratching your head as well and looking at, well, what's good or bad? Now you start getting worried because now you're measuring what's good or bad based on all the constructs you've been given. And what I'm
Mhm.
saying is, if you get in touch with yourself and you're able to begin to release the guilt of that, and release the guilt of discovering yourself at the deepest level, you will never have to be concerned about doing something that is good or bad, right or wrong, because you will no longer resonate with those actions, because there is no survival fear tied into um, your need to do those things. Everything becomes about survival. Survival is a huge part of human beings, and we will do what we do to protect ourselves. And out of that comes desperate actions, come behaviors, things that we do, and we try to hide it away and pretend and come up with reasons why we've done it. And in the article it says, which I didn't read that part, but it says, you know all your secrets. You know all the thoughts you've had, all the things that you have done. Doesn't matter the face that you put on for the world. You know all of the things that you hide away and then try to pretend to be this socially acceptable human being. And so this is what I'm trying to explain to people. When you can own yourself, own everything that you've been, own everything that you have done, and release all of that, you can start releasing the guilt. You don't have to worry anymore about whether you're going to be a good person or not. You just don't resonate with certain behaviors anymore because you're not in fear and you're not trying to survive and protect self. Does all of that make sense?
Yes, that does. Absolutely.
All right, so that's what I want people to think on. A lot of times, people are not used to thinking quite like what I'm saying because they've been living in the social conditioning and programs and codes and behavior, and you think that you're not, but you are. And that's why you would say to me, well, now you're just telling people to do whatever they want to do. The fact that you will even say that, it lets me know where that you don't get it yet. You don't understand. When you hear, and I think I try to be as clear as possible. So I want people to listen to this recording again as many times as you need to, if you feel like it. If you don't want to, then you don't have to do that either. Um, but I would like for you to be able to understand at least what I'm saying, and then you can work on yourself, work with yourself, and see where you are in relationship to all that has been shared. So, any you have any more questions? You want to anything you want to talk about, or does that cover it?
Was there
Oh,
anybody
I
else?
think you
Because I
got
didn't want
muted.
to be, I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
want to
no, no,
take
no,
all the
that's
time.
okay. No, yeah, okay. It's okay if you're finished.
It's Lisa.
Oh, hey, Lisa. Okay, I'll mute you then, Shalia. Okay. Okay, go ahead, Lisa.
First thing, yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. First thing is when you were talking about your article, I said there she goes again with us being in a certain resonance with one another. And I wanted to
Mhm.
know what date you wrote that article, because on August 30th I wrote an article, and right after I wrote the article, I was sharing it in different places on Facebook, and then I saw that you wrote something kind of similar. Now yours went in way more in depth than mine, because I just didn't feel like doing nothing, and it reflected in the article too. So I said I said, been feeling like you don't want to do a damn thing lately, and that was the name of the article, Sonia. And it was just like, oh my goodness. But I loved how we're talking about, it's all of the energy and everything that we put into, you know, for, well, not for lack of a better way of saying it, but this is what it is. Putting, all that energy into the facade that we,
Mhm.
put out there in front of everybody. You know, that's what's causing us to be tired. you get to this point
Exactly.
you get to this point where you're like, you know what, I'm not feeling that. I am not feeling trying to be this, that, and the other. This is what it is, and that's what it is. So I really
It's too much work.
appreciate it. It is, Sonia. It is too much work, and I don't care how many times, like for myself, what I feel, and we've talked about this before. I get this feeling like, Lisa, just stop, 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 stop,
Mhm.
stop. Just everything. Like, there's nothing you need to do. There's no way you need to be. There's just none of that. And then, something else will come over me like, wow, well, I'm supposed to be trying to run this business and da 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 da. And then
I
I'll,
know.
go put an article out, or I'll go do this or that. But then the other part, the part that is me, is still saying stop. You know what I mean? So I go back and forth with that a lot, because I'm like, Lisa, stop. But now it's more of me stopping. And I'm like, wow,
Right.
this feels so, like, it feels weird, because it's like I'm so used to doing something. And that's the part
Yep.
that I'm paying attention to. I don't have to do a darn thing. But it feels like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? I'm not doing anything. I'm supposed to be doing something. That type of
Exactly.
thing.
Oh,
So,
I'm familiar with that.
yeah, and I know you are. But the other
Yeah.
thing is, and it's still along the same lines of our being ourselves. I just watched, and I don't know if you've had a chance to watch it yet, but the Whitney Houston documentary that came out on
No, I
Showtime.
haven't seen it. Mm-mm.
Well, it's on Monday, and throughout the documentary, people that were talking about Whitney just kept saying that all she would say is, "Can I be me? Can I be me?
Mhm.
Can I be me?" And this gentleman in the beginning of the documentary said, yeah, it's she died, from a drug overdose, but it wasn't just that. She died of a broken heart. And
Right.
you know throughout the entire documentary, all you saw was this woman struggling to be herself. I don't care what she was doing. I
Mhm.
don't, and she did a lot. She was, into the church and very religious and all of that. But it was like, wow, you could see right through all of that even. I mean, I could see straight
Right.
through it to the point where it was like she wanted to be the fact that she sang to the or was able to express herself on stage through her voice in the manner that she did. That was her true expression. That was like
Right.
when she started singing, that was her, and you knew that was her. Then she left it all on the stage. But as soon as she came off the stage, she had to be everything else. She had, or in her mind, and she was trapped right there. And you could just tell. And it was like, oh my goodness, this is, and that's why I watched it twice, because I was getting so much more from it than just what was being said. It was a combination of everything. It was what was being said, it was the images that were being shown, and it was her, crying out the entire time to be able to be herself. And you just saw that she just, in her own mind, she was trapped.
Oh
And
yeah. Oh yeah. That makes so
yeah,
much sense. Which it happens with a
yeah.
lot of the celebrities. That's the reason why you see much of that, is because the mask that they're forced to wear, and that is the point I absolutely that I'm making, that
Mhm.
those are celebrities, but just on our level where we're not celebrities, look at
Mhm.
what the mask that people wear in just everyday life, and they're choking from it because our natural thing is to just be let free. And so
Exactly.
people go crazy.
Exactly. And I was reading something to my son where we were just talking about what you were talking with the first young lady about, in terms of, that feeling, or what the societal expectations and the expectations that we have of ourselves, and the programming and all of that. And again, I shared something on my own business page where there was a quote that I put there that said, it said, "Show me the child at age 7 years old, and I'll
Right,
show
and
you
show
the
you the
person that
man.
they are now."
Mhm. That's
And
right.
I was talking to him about, the programming, and the fact that it's through, verbal cues, emotions, facial expressions, vocal tones, and everybody that was around us during our formative years. We were being programmed. We were being,
Mhm.
introduced. We were being indoctrinated without even a word having to be spoken, because it was so many other things that were, that we were looking at, and that we were taking in as well. It's
That's
not
right.
just, when we think about it, it's not just something called a belief system, like as we think about it in our minds. It's also everything else that wasn't being said, but you were seeing
Mhm.
it. You watched how this one responded to that. You watched how your family struggled for money. You watched how, you know what I mean? We watched all of
Exactly.
this.
You take it all in. You're like you're a sponge. I mean,
Exactly.
you're a sponge, and where else? I mean, you figure a human being comes here, for you arrive no differently than you land. you know, you
Mhm.
land in a strange place, and now you have to get acclimated, and now you are going to learn the language. You are going to learn from the people that you are with, and the environment that you're introduced to. You have to learn how it works to be a human being, and and that's what you do. That you suck up all that information, and then you shape you're
Exactly.
shaped from that. That's your reference point now for operating in life. And so, yeah, no, so I'm glad you brought all of that up, Lisa, because I think these are the things that people have to understand. They have to start looking at, who am I? And we've all
Mhm.
asked. That was a question I asked myself when I finally one day woke up and realized all. Not all of it, but I started seeing. I was like, I don't even know if I like this. Why do I even like that color? I mean, I asked
Mhm.
basic questions like that, like how do I know? And then you start feeling like this empty slate, because now you're like, you have this canvas that
Mhm.
you can begin to create on. That so it is a process. It's a process for people.
Well, again, I with my same son, because him and I tend to have these types of conversations, because he'll engage, and we go back and
Which
forth,
is
and he'll ask a
wonderful.
question, and we actually traveled, I would say, into what I call nothingness. By the time we were
Mhm.
done talking, because we started, and of course we talked about the movie Lucy, because you know how much I love that movie.
Right. Oh
And
yeah, yeah.
we started with, and I pointed over to him, and I always remind him, this is a system that was created. Where we're at right now, this is a system. And it was
Mhm.
created, so everything in it was created as well. And we looked over at the clock, and I said, remember what Lucy said about there not even being, numbers. 1 plus 1 doesn't even equal
Right.
2, because there wasn't a 1 to begin with. And we started really delving into that. And as one question went to the next, we ended up at no thing. No thing
Yeah.
at all.
I
To
love
the
it.
point
I
where
love
my
it.
son was like, "Oh my God." It was so funny, Sonia. I wish you were there, because he started like, he felt like this energetic jolt like go through his body, and he was like, "Oh my goodness, I
Mhm.
can't handle what." He's like, "It's like so much information, it's so much
It is.
energy." And he was like, "I'm
Mhm.
I'm trying to hold on to what I just got, but it came and went so quick. I can't even hold on." And I said, "Michael,
It's all
that
there.
is who we are.
Mhm.
That is what
Yeah.
you just experienced, that energy right there.
Yeah.
That is who we are. We are everything and nothing all at the same
Which
time."
absolutely. Which that's so wonderful to be having that conversation, because that is the very reason why the structure and system in place helps to keep people from getting in touch with themselves, because it's the key. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
you'd be
But I
too
don't want to,
large. Yeah.
huh?
No, we would be too large, and then the game would die. The game wouldn't be what it is. So
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly. But I don't want to keep over talking everybody else, so I'll just let you go. But wonderful, wonderful talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you for adding all of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
All right. Yes. Who is this?
This is Shatiqua. How are you?
Oh, hello. I'm
Hi.
wonderful.
That's good. So am I. So I was thinking and listening, and I came in late, just when the questions began, but I think I
Uh
grasped what you
oh,
was
you missed
talking about.
you missed the
And I
whole
just
thing.
wanted to offer a technique that I use to help to to have helped myself get to a place where I am actualizing what you suggest. After like thinking back into my past and being upset a lot about uh things that didn't go my way or were imposed upon me that I never asked for, and all those type of things that helped create who I had become as an adult that I wanted to change. I found one of my favorite pictures of my
Oops.
maybe
Oops.
3 years
Mhm.
old.
Mhm.
Hello? A very
Yeah.
young picture of
You're here.
myself.
You're.
Oh, okay.
When you were
Where
3.
where I was beautiful and free, and I didn't have any of those kind of thoughts. And I just love looking at that picture. And I put that picture up, and I said to myself, I'm going to restore this innocence to my now. And I've been working on it, and I've been feeling it. And I just wanted to share that with the audience because that's just my technique that has been very helpful to me to get to a place where there is freedom in my soul and no judgment and no fear. And yeah, I just wanted to share those words.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no,
You're
that's
welcome.
a technique that we actually talk about all the time, because I
Really?
keep a picture on. Oh yeah, because I keep a picture on my desk of me at 4.5, and
Right.
I have
Wow.
conversations with her all the time.
It is so
Um,
helpful.
yeah,
That's
and
amazing.
yeah, I do.
That's
I put it
amazing.
there right now, but yeah.
That's
Yeah, we talk
wonderful.
about it in other workshops too. That is that's a way to,
Yes.
but then there's so much more as well.
Yes.
Besides that, there's just so much more. But
Absolutely.
yeah,
All right. Well, thank
wow,
you.
thank you
Yes.
for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, anybody else? Okay. Well, we are gonna be closing down shortly if there's nobody else. Um, I do hope that for those of you who are here and those of you who are listening, in the future, that you will enjoy and receive as needed from this audio, from this little workshop. It is definitely my pleasure, and I hope to see some of you, and I'm sure I will at some given point in time. I will see you at something, or at a workshop, or somehow in person, or whatever the case may be. I thank you so much, and don't forget next month to look out for the email that will remind you of the next free teleconference rather, on the first Wednesday of the month. And there's something else that I'm going to send out to everybody. I haven't really structured it yet, but I'm going to open it up for a little bit. One day, I'm not sure which day it is, on chat on my website, where you, for like a couple of hours, I will be there, and you can chat. We can chat. You can ask me questions, or we can chat, and go from there. So, all right. Take care. Have an amazing rest of your night or evening. Until next time, chat with you
Thank
again.
you.
Bye. Thank you.